Hi, everyone. Thank you. My name is Sippy Oppenheimer, and I am part of the MBN Post Aliyah Answers Department. I'm joined this evening by my colleague Aviva, who is going to be assisting me in a variety of ways. This evening's open forum is about Hebrew Ulpan. We'll get into that in a minute. Before we actually start, I do want to say a couple of things which kind of just as a sign of the times. First of all, again, thank you for joining. I know that it's a week before Pesach and it's also in the middle of a war, so it might not be the most convenient time for everybody, but I appreciate you joining. And if for some reason, that's why I was interested in, thank you all, whoever unmuted yourself, wrote in where you're from and who you are. Thank you so much. We're from really all over the country. So if somebody does get a siren, just do what you need to do. If you get the alert and you need to go to your room or your shelter, do that. If you have the siren, you wait till the siren, whatever you do. And if I don't get anything, I will continue. This is being recorded. You'll get a link to the recording in about 2 to 3 days, with also some of the links that you'll also get, excuse me, the slideshow presentation, which has links in them, and there'll be live links. So you don't really have to spend time marking down links. But if you have to leave, you'll leave. And if you want to come back when you're done, then come back. And if not, you'll wait for the recording. If for some reason I need to leave, I will, and Aviva can continue. Or if we both have to leave, we might need to continue this another time. As is usual in these crazy, tumultuous, and often difficult days, we're going to play it. We're going to wing it in certain ways. We plan and plan and plan, and in the end, we'll see what is in store for us. So this evening is our open forum. We do this if this is the first time you're joining us. We, is our post Aliyah department, Aviva and myself, are part of a robust team of 11, I believe we are. And hopefully we've been in touch with you, in different capacities since your Aliyah. If you don't know how to reach us, you can just look at my screen, star 3680, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Sunday through Thursday, or our email address. We are closing for the Pesach holiday, just FYI, as our government offices, even those that are, some of them reopened as of whatever, because with the war, they were all closed and they're reopening slowly, but everything is closing as of Monday and will be closed throughout Pesach, including Chol Moed. So we will have an answer, someone will be answering our phone for emergency situations only. I hope we don't have that, but if you do have an emergency situation, that would still be available to you during Chol Moed. Okay. Before we start our topic, I'm also going to remind you, if you're feeling that you need resources in this time of emergency, whether they're actual practical resources or, well, mental health resources are also practical resources. We do have a page on our website with emergency preparedness and emergency time resources. If you just, our website has lots of stuff on it, and you can really just put into Google emergency preparedness NBN, and that's the first page that's going to pop up. It'll be on the follow-up email as well. So today's, this evening's webinar, Zoom, I should call it, is going to be on Ulpan, and I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to ask you just for one bit of help. Where are we? Here we are. Okay. This is what I want. Yes. Okay. So you know what? I didn't share the screen the way that I can also see you guys, and I want to be able to see you. And okay, now I should be able to see you and my screen. Okay. I have a presentation. It's a medium lengthish. I'm imagining you're going to have questions. What I would like to ask you to do is to please hold off on asking your questions. I will stop every once in a while to see if there are questions, but we'll actually have a lot of time for questions and answers at the end. Okay. I prefer you to be, if possible, concentrating on the presentation. If you need to write down the questions so you don't forget them, put them on a sheet of paper. Later, we'll be able to type the questions in the chat, or we'll see how many people are on the screen, how many people are attending if we want to unmute somebody and have them ask that way. Okay. Aviva is here to answer questions that are typed in, but again, she's one person, and it makes more sense for you to listen throughout the presentation and then bring up your questions. Okay,
Getting my
so
fingers ready.
uh, thanks, Aviva. Okay, so Ulpan eligibility. Who is eligible for Ulpan? Ulpan, if you don't know, is a Hebrew intensive course, intensive Hebrew learning course open for Olim who are age 17 and older upon Aliyah. And the official timeline that you have this benefit available to you is 18 months from your Aliyah date. However, for the last number of years, I can't even count, they have extended this timeline to be 10 years from your Aliyah date. Okay. It's a directive called an Misar Klita Directive 372. They renew that every year. I don't know why they don't make the change permanent, but that is the case. So even though it says 18 months in a lot of places, it'll say 10 years in other places. And in fact, it is currently for you guys 10 years. Hopefully it'll stay that way. That means 10 years from your Aliyah date, you are up until 10 years from your Aliyah date, you are eligible to take Ulpan. Now, I would, of course, or not of course, remind you or explain to you it's to your benefit to take Ulpan as quickly as you can upon Aliyah because it's one of the ways to help you integrate into society, both to be able to go to the grocery store and speak with whoever you need to speak with, at work, with your neighbors, understanding the news, and so on. The more Hebrew you know, the better. For some people who are starting out with no Hebrew, the goal would be to be semi-fluent. That takes time. People who have some Hebrew, the goal would be to become even more fluent. It takes time and energy, but the idea is this benefit is there for you, and take advantage of it as soon as you can. Even though you can do it, have 10 years, really is we do encourage to take advantage of this really as soon as possible after your Aliyah. There's a few government bodies that are responsible for Ulpan. I changed that, Aviva, if you noticed. It's run the main players are both the Misrad Klita, the Ministry of Aliyah and Absorption, and the Misrad Chinuch, which is the Ministry of Education. They're each in charge of different parts of the Ulpan as far as the planning of it, the actual putting it together, and so on. They work together. Other bodies that are also responsible include the Jewish Agency, that's for some residential Ulpans, and your local municipality, whether it's your city or your town or your Moetza Ezorit, wherever you live. They're also responsible for part of the Ulpan as far as providing a place and so on, a location actually for the Ulpan. Residential Ulpan, most Ulpanim are not residential, meaning you go to classes, you come home, you go to classes, you come home. There are a few residential Ulpans that have their own rules as far as who can or cannot attend. Famous among them are Ulpan Etzion. There's a number of them throughout the country. That is for post-academic. That means somebody who has a college degree, and I believe up to the age of 36. It takes people from all over the world. There's in Jerusalem, there's in a bunch of places. Jerusalem, Haifa, I'm not going to remember them all. Ra'anana, somewhere in the south. People love that Ulpan. If you're in that age bracket and you think you'd like to do that, you should be in touch with us. Normally, a person applies for that prior to Aliyah, but there is a way to look into it post Aliyah. The other type of residential Ulpan is kibbutz Ulpan, and that really is for young people. I believe it's up to the age of 26. That being said, really most of the people who attend are 18, 19, 20. So if I don't know if anybody on the screen is that young, but that's the other type of residential Ulpan available. Otherwise, Ulpan is held either frontally in a classroom or by Zoom. We'll talk about that in a second. So there's two types of Ulpan classes. One is called public Ulpan and one is called private Ulpan. In Hebrew, for public Ulpan, I put Ulpan Memshalti. That is how the official name and how the government bodies, that's the phrase that they use to call the public Ulpan. That means government Ulpan. It's also sometimes translated as that. And then there's a private Ulpan. We're going to go into both of those in detail. Each of them have their own um, characteristics, which we'll go into, but just keep in mind you have those two types. What's really important to know is that eligibility for a second Ulpan, if you take the public Ulpan first, to able to take a second Ulpan, a private Ulpan, because you have benefits for both of them. You are eligible to take both, not just one. Not together though. But to be eligible for a second Ulpan, you must successfully complete the previous Ulpan, the first Ulpan. We'll get into that more detail. Okay, public Ulpan. So first of all, you see there's a link there. Don't spend your time copying it down. You'll get it in the follow-up email. But that link is really, it's a page from what's called the gov.il website, which is a great website and has a large percentage of its information also in English. And it really explains, you're going to, if you guys look at it, you're going to see, oh, that's where she got her information from. That's where I get my information from, among other places. Um, Public Ulpan is usually 5 days a week, 5 hours a day for 5 months. Not, it's not always exact. The 555 rule used to say they used to tell us 500 hours, but they have now made that more realistic. It's 450 to 420 hours. That's completing that is completing your Ulpan. Okay, there's what's called Ulpan Aleph, which really goes through Kita Aleph, Bet, and part of Gimel, meaning it goes through different levels. And there's Ulpan Bet that already begins at a higher level and goes even higher. Some locations, not many, but some locations have Ulpan Gimel, Dalet, Hey, etc. But that's not so easy to find in universities. You can, and maybe in some big cities. And then those Ulpan classes are typically not so, they're not 5 days a week for 5 hours a day. They're meet a couple times a week for fewer hours. Public Ulpan is always held in person. There's a but there, which I'll get to in a second. Um, and you attend that in your own city or your region. If you live in a city that doesn't have a public Ulpan, such as Zichron Yaakov, you're gonna be told by your Misara Klita rep, which is who directs you, to take Ulpan in Hadera, which is the closest Ulpan. If you live in Yerushalayim, you're taking Ulpan in Yerushalayim. If you live in Nahariya and you prefer the Ulpan in Haifa, I'm just giving examples, you're going to have a little bit of an argument on your hands why you want to go to Haifa and not take the Ulpan in Nahariya or not wait. So the bottom line here is if you want to go to a public Ulpan, not in the city where you're living, either because you'd have to wait too long or there might be other reasons, give us a call so we can try and prepare you how you can appeal this to the Misara Klita so they may or may not approve you, but we can help you, think it through and coach you. That would be the right word. Public Ulpan is free. I believe there is a small fee that you pay for, usually you go on 2 trips, but it's basically free. And there, in addition to the higher level Ulpans, there's also in some locations an Ulpan for 60s plus that meets not 5 days a week, less days a week and less hours, but over a much longer period of time. So if that's your style and your rhythm, you should ask about that too. Those Ulpan classes typically open less frequently. Okay. Ulpan, Misara Klita registration. Where does one find out information about Ulpan and where does one register for Ulpan? So there's a couple of places you could find out what Ulpan where there are Ulpanim. Okay, one is if you see it says list of Ulpanim, we have on our website Ulpan database, as well as the Ministry of Education also has a link. Those are hyperlinks and they would take you to those pages. That being said, you should also be in touch with two possible people. One is your Misara Klita contact. He or she should know what there is available in your city. That's what their job is. That's part of what they do. Another person is your municipality Klita representative. Now, you're going to get confused. I don't want your heads to spin. You have us, Nefesh B'Nefesh Answers, our post aliyah department. You have your Misara Klita rep, or contact, who is the person who will also give you the okay and the voucher for Ulpan. And you have what's called a municipality Klita coordinator. That's a person, not every city has it, but many do. And I was actually going to show you the page, but we could put that in the follow-up email as well. There's many cities in the country that have someone who is appointed by both the city and the Misara Klita to help Olim in their city. For example, Jerusalem, for example, has, I believe, three for English speakers. Some cities have one, and they try to find somebody who speaks both Russian and English, or both Spanish and English, or whatever they might, so that you have somebody you can speak with. And they also should know about Ulpan classes in your area. To find who is your local, if you don't know who your local municipality Klita coordinator is, you can ask us, or you can Google Klita coordinator MBN, municipality Klita coordinator MBN, and you'll get that page. And again, it'll be on your follow-up email. Once you've found out where the classes are and which one you want to take, not necessarily when it's starting, but in Jerusalem, for example, you have a couple options. So you're going to choose which one sounds better to you because of location. And you're going to be then going to ask the Misara Klita rep for a voucher. A voucher is a permission slip in the as far as the public Ulpan goes. Aviva, are you hearing me okay? Because I'm like hearing myself a teeny bit with my microphone a little bit strange. Is everyone hearing me okay?
I'm hearing you fine too.
You're loud
Okay.
and clear. No
Okay, terrific.
problem.
Okay, then I will don't worry about it. Um, the voucher is an okay telling you are approved to attend Ulpan. Ulpan is free for you, the public Ulpan, but it's not free. So this is the Misara Klita saying you're approved and we will pay for your Ulpan, okay? Do not do not skip that step. Well, they're not going to let you in the class actually without having the voucher, okay? The voucher approval and sometimes the Misara Klita contact will call the voucher something else. It all means the same thing. Okay, they might say an ishur. I don't know what other name they like to use these days, but we call it a voucher. The voucher approval is valid for 3 months. So don't ask for it now if you're not planning to start Ulpan at least for another month and a half. Wait another month and then ask. It's good for 3 months. It doesn't mean you have to finish the Ulpan in those 3 months. It means you have to start within 3 months. If your voucher times out and you have not yet started Ulpan, you need to ask for a second voucher, a new one. It's not a second one, it's a new one. And you can do that. It's just, more work for you and for the Misara Klita contacts. We are often asked when new Ulpan classes open up. And the answer is, it depends. So the residential Ulpans, Dafka, they have set dates almost always because of the dormitory needs. But most other places, depending on how many classrooms they have and how many teachers they have and how many Olim are waiting to join an Ulpan class, that's when a new class opens up. It is not unheard of that there's enough people to open a class. Enough Olim, I believe it's 25 you need minimum to open a class, but there's no room and there's no teacher yet. Okay, and then you have to wait another week, 2 weeks, or even longer. I don't know if it goes without saying or it needs to be said, but in locations with more Olim, there's going to be more Ulpan classes opening up. Locations with less Olim, it's going to be less frequent. That's the way it is. Okay. I'm going to go through this slide and then, okay. Public Ulpan, what to expect in times of war. I added this. I just should say this presentation gets updated and adapted each year. Misara Klita takes very seriously the Ulpan studies, and they make changes, tweaks, big changes, smaller changes, trying to give the best services to Olim. Sometimes, we hear Olim what's amazing, and sometimes Olim have what to say. It's not on the mark, but I can assure you that the Misara Klita really does try to make this as a good, as helpful as possible for Olim. This slide I put in obviously just for this year. What to expect in time of war, okay? If any of you are already in Ulpan or you have friends, the classes that were being held frontally, is that how you say it in English? In person, are are now being held virtually by Zoom, okay? Classes are continuing. I was also assured that new classes are opening, and I actually know they are from someone in my team's personal experience with a friend of theirs who made Aliyah. We know that new classes are opening. We also know, I also know, or we know, that if you somebody is already in Ulpan and they moved it to Zoom and they can't, just not working for them with Zoom because they don't have the conditions or they have their kids climbing over them because there's no school, so they can't really concentrate, or because of the war, they can't concentrate. If any of you are in that situation, you should immediately, and you don't want to continue by Zoom, okay? It's just not working for you. You should immediately contact your Misrata Klita rep in via the online portal. I hope you all know how to do that. And just say to them, I'm in Ulpan in Naharia. Um, I don't know why I'm using Naharia always as an example, but whatever. I'm in this Ulpan that began on this date. As of March 6th, I stopped attending. It moved to Zoom, and I just can't concentrate because of the war, and I have no, whatever the reasons are. My kids are at home, and I can't attend, and they will freeze your OPAM benefit to restart it once the war is over and once there's the right conditions for you. Okay. So I don't know if anybody listening now or listening to the recording is in that position. If so, and you want more information, more coaching, what to do about this, give us a call. What to expect from public OPA. So usually, the image of Ulpan is learning Hebrew in Hebrew, right? Ivrit b'Ivrit, meaning the traditional Ulpan teacher speaks only Hebrew. But in fact, that's not really the case anymore these days. For many reasons, they changed the pedagogical um, pedagogical reasoning behind how or methods of teaching. And you do have a lot of Hebrew in the class, but it's not Hebrew in Hebrew. So just know that. You should expect homework that includes both exercises A, B, C, D, and also practice. If you don't practice, I mean, I don't mean to sound like a Jewish mama, but if you don't practice, you're not going to learn. Language is something that needs to be practiced. So you should expect, even though the class is only, say, 5 hours from 8 until 1 or 8:15 until a quarter to 1, you really need to put time aside in the afternoons or evenings to go over what you learned, do homework. That's what's expected of you if you want to make progress. Okay. The other thing is class size. They're not huge, but they're not small. You could have 20, 22, 24 people in your class, which means that if you are actually speaking and going around the room, do the math as to um, how your own personal speaking time is going to be cut to a number of minutes, and that's why you need to practice when you're out of class. Okay. The other thing about Ulpan is it's also an introduction to Israel and Israeli culture, and also sometimes Israeli Jewish and Israeli holidays. For some Olim from North America, some of that is not fully necessary, but think about who else is in the classroom and share your joy and your knowledge and your experiences. And we hear really, really nice things about Ulpan teachers. I do hear sometimes the opposite, but mainly Ulpan teachers are really well appreciated and give of themselves a lot. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing a minute and ask now. Hold on. Are there any questions about what we have spoken about until now? If not, we'll go on.
I have a question.
Mhm,
I'm in Ramat Beit Shemesh.
mhm.
I am also 84 years old. Um, I went to the local office and they told me, the 5 hours, 5 days a week. Well, there are so many things that we have to get done these first few months that was impossible. My nephew is in Jerusalem and he goes 2 days or 3 days a week. How is it possible to get classes like that in a place like Ramat Beit Shemesh? They said maybe in the fall, maybe they might.
So I get your question. Honestly, I certainly am not an expert in Ulpan in every city how it's presented, but Jerusalem is actually out of the ordinary in that they have so many different options. But Sherna, I would suggest if you haven't yet been in touch with the municipality contact, um, in Beit Shemesh, she knows a lot about which open classes there are. One type of open class that I didn't mention at all is, which we didn't get to the private ones either yet, but sometimes some cities offer once a week for a few hours. Now, it's not going to be the less hours you learn, the less you're going to make progress, but that might be what you want. So you should be, I forget, with there again, there's four different municipality coordinators in Beit Shemesh as well. No, I'm exaggerating this too. So you should be in touch. And Viva, if you can put that link in the chat, but as I said, we'll send it as well because they might have more information. Okay. You can also after Pesach give us a call. I'm saying after Pesach because there's almost no time before Pesach. You can give us
Yeah.
a call. And some of my colleagues know more about Ulpan and Beit Shemesh than I do. Some are really well versed in what's happening in Beit Shemesh, so maybe there's more that they can give. When did you make Aliyah, Cherna? How long ago?
The end of January.
Okay. Are you in touch? Does Shifra give you calls as your regional coordinator?
Shifra does not sound familiar.
Okay.
I
Um,
did get several different calls actually, but I
okay.
remember
Aviva,
them.
can you write, I don't want to write while can you just mark down Sherna's name and I'm going to look later what's up with that and
Yeah,
maybe I'll have
but
Shifra.
I have
Yeah.
to admit, Tippy, you asked me to share a link and I was busy answering a question for somebody, so I
Okay.
wasn't
The
paying
municipality
attention.
coordinators, the municipality
Okay.
coordinators, and then just mark down or Cherna. Yeah, that's fine. I'll actually remember your name.
Okay.
Okay.
And by the
Sh-
way, I'm a
I,
language teacher, so I
oh,
know
I wouldn't want to be your
immersion is
teacher then.
the best way to learn.
Okay.
But it's a matter of,
um,
Okay.
time and just
Okay.
the capability of getting to a place.
Hmm. Hmm.
I have a question. If you could mark me down in addition to Charna, just simply because I also live in Ramat Beit Shemesh, and I also made Aliyah recently, shortly before Charna, and my questions are mainly regarding extremely high level Ulpan because
Hmm.
I already worked on my Hebrew a lot, so I could get by, but I'm just
Good
not
for
on
you.
a really
Okay, so
level.
you might want to be going to private Ulpan, which I haven't mentioned yet. So I will mention when we'll get to that. That might be the answer for you. Somebody who's already on a pretty high level, the private Ulpan is probably the option, the way to go.
I
Questions
also had
about yeah.
is there any stipend? Because similar to like Churna said, the first 2 months I couldn't even think about Ulpan. I had so much to take care of. If I want to do Ulpan now, I don't know if 555 is realistic for high levels. But regardless, is there any
So
stipends or
that's an excellent question. Okay, so the living stipend when you're taking Ulpan is really saklita, but we know that doesn't happen all the time. You can't always start Ulpan early at the beginning for many reasons. As you said, there's lots to do, and it might not have opened and so on. There's something called Dmei Kiyum or unemployment for Olim, which is available for months 7 through 12 if you're in Ulpan. Okay. For other reasons too, you might be eligible for it. But if you're in Ulpan, you would be eligible for it. And if you started Ulpan in the 10th month, they extend that payment, I believe, in the 13th, 14th, and maybe 15th month. But it's not a lot of money. You should just know it's not. But that is a possibility. That does exist. Okay. I agree. Dvora Wexer, kolakavod to all those who just made Aliyah. Kolakavod to everybody on the screen. Okay, you're here and we're truly inspired by our Olim, as I like to call you, our Olim. I see Shella Horvitz and Reina have their. Okay, so Shella, do you want to start first? Did I
Yes,
say did I say your name right?
yes, you said it right, which no
Okay,
one does. So
okay,
kolakavod.
okay.
Um, I am asking, I got very lucky. I was allowed to do Zoom Ulpan with Ulpan Marasha out of Jerusalem. I'm living in Haifa. My poor husband, who had absolutely zero Hebrew before making Aliyah, he got put into a physical Ulpan here where half the teaching is in Russian. He's not learning Dink. Basically, he asks me to explain to him all the stuff that's going on. And I'm wondering, okay, well, when he finishes Ulpan, he's made all these friends, but he hasn't learned, he hasn't
In Haifa,
in Haifa.
in Abu Hushi, where is he?
I don't know the name of it.
Okay, okay.
I know it's downtown. I've never even been there, but like, what happens to someone who gets out of Ulpan and
Thank you for your question.
yeah.
Okay, so first of all, let me just say the following. someone who is someone is in Ulpan, or you start Ulpan and it's not working out for you because 90% of the class speaks Russian, and everybody should be speaking Hebrew, but we know that doesn't happen. You should first, and I know it can be daunting, but truly first speak with the teacher and then with the Ulpan manager. And then if it doesn't resolve itself, with the Klita, Misara Klita rep, and say it's not working out. Is there another class I can join? Can you put me on hold? And call us, okay? Because your situation, on the one hand, what you're describing is a personal, a one personal situation. On the other hand, we've heard that from Olim as well. Depends also where you are, and so on and so forth. But it could be the option is, by the way, to take another open class afterwards. So I will also say, I don't work for Misara Klita, but I really am a fan of Misara Klita in many ways, but in the following way also. Somebody who finishes Ulpan and says, I just didn't learn what I need to learn, even though I attended. I would like to appeal to get a second voucher for that same, intensive Ulpan. Many instances they approve it. Okay. But if you need to be if you're in that situation, give us a call again, so we can coach you through it before you approach them. And we don't have any secrets, but just, talk you through it. What are the, thinking of the reasons, what you should be explaining. It is an office where you can appeal, and they do see the person in front of them. And I have heard many times of getting possibility of a second public Ulpan. Okay. We haven't yet finished the slideshow, and a lot of people have their hands raised. So I don't want, if it's a question about things the slides, and you're not clear about something, then please, let's ask those questions. But if it's like, future things that maybe I'm going to be talking about, or other things, let's wait until the end. Okay. So Raina, did you want to ask a question about what,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, because we talked about how Ulpan switched to online because of the war. Are there Ulpans that are online in general?
Yes, so we'll get to that. Okay. Meaning the public Ulpan classes, no. Those very intensive, there's always in person, frontal teaching. But now on Zoom, by the way, I should correct myself, because I don't know what's happened. I was a part of a meeting about Ulpan the middle of last week, and one of the things they said was they're actually bringing Ulpan back in some places where there's for actual in-person learning, places where there's a safe room close by. But then the next day or the next 2 days were the terrible accidents or the terrible hits in Arad and in Dimona, so they might have decided to continue everything by Zoom. I'm not sure, but we'll talk about where you can do it by Zoom just from the start.
We just
okay?
got a
This
Hatra
morning
on
it's
We
all
have
Mogi.
a we
Okay.
have a
Okay.
Hazaka.
Okay, so those of you who need to already go to your safe space do. I always hope, please God, that that it won't turn into an actual azaka. So Ulpan Morasha, somebody also wrote that in the chat, and I thank you. Ulpan Morasha is Aviva, you're muting people who needed to leave their computer or whatever. Ulpan Morasha is an unusual hybrid in many different ways, and maybe I need to call them and learn more about it. I know people in the north who've used Ulpan Morasha is located in Jerusalem. People in the north who study, people who love it, people who can't stand it. It's like a lot of things, in Hebrew we say al tam va'arech en ma litvakeach. You can't argue with a person's taste. I know of a lot of Olim who love it, a lot of Olim or some Olim who didn't, but I also know they work in they offer all sorts of options. So you might want to look into that, somebody, if you're looking for something that's partially by Zoom and perhaps not in person. Warren, did you have a question specific to what we already went over?
Yes, please. You mentioned about there's options for Ivrit that are not Ivrit Ivrit. Can you talk about that a little more? And is there
Yeah, no, well, so I began my journey with Ulpan class in 1980, I believe it was, at Hebrew University. And then that was the golden rule. Ivrit, you were not allowed to say a word in another language, okay? What I meant to say was, or what I want to explain was, it's not the case anymore, not just because the teachers are not, it's not because the teachers are not because the teachers are lazy or whatever, because they've changed their pedagogical way of teaching. Okay. The downside of that is if you're in a class with 90% Russian speakers, the teacher may speak Russian, and then instead of explaining it in a language that you understand, is maybe explaining in the other language. Okay, so that's what I meant. Okay, Kim, did you want to ask a question about what we spoke about?
Yes, I did. So I'm an Ola Miyom Shuva.
Mm-hmm.
So I just now received my biometric Tutazu,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm having problems activating it. But my question is, um, I understand that after the war, the Bistrada Klita will open again, and I can have an appointment to get my Tudat Ola. So realistically, how long will that take, and how long will it take me to get Ulpan?
Okay, so
What?
Kim, thank you for your question. Can I just ask you a question? Were you here as a former A1 visa holder, or
I
Anybody?
went to university
yeah, that's why.
in
Okay, okay,
in
okay.
1973.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
mention
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can ask.
Wait, we need, please, can
Yeah,
everybody
right.
mute themselves who, or, okay. So I'm just going to clarify for everyone. The government offices, many of them are closed for reception hours. Some have reopened, whatever. Misrata Klita is not having reception face to face. However, they are working, and you need to open up what's called a gov.il account, and then from that you go into the Misrata Klita account. It's your
I
personal
can't
login.
do that. I can't do
You're
anything. I
right.
can't
So
activate
Kim,
my.
you're right. No, you're right. You're right. Kim, give us a call. Give us a call tomorrow between 9 and 5. Okay. Better, actually, I'm going to be honest. Give us a call between 9 and 3. Okay.
Sippy,
And
for specific questions, can we just have, well, tell
yes,
people
but
to
let,
call us
Okay, I
afterwards
yeah.
so
got
we can move
impatient.
along?
Sorry.
Okay. No, that's okay. And Kim, you should give us a call. But I do want to piggyback on your question and just say, if you need to be, because this whole evening is about Ulpan, and that's a lot of interaction with the Misara Klitan, even though they're not having actual appointments, there is the interaction through the online portal, and they're very receptive in answering and giving responses about Ulpan and about other things as well. One other person with their hand raised, and we're going to move forward. AD, you had your hand raised for a long time, or not? Okay, so Davida, you had your hand raised. You have your hand raised. Yes, no?
I have a quick question. When I made Aliyah about 3 years ago, I took the Ulpan, I used my Ulpan voucher and then pay out of my pocket combined. I took the Ulpan 2 years, almost 2 years at Beit Ham. And then when I moved to Hebrew University, later when I revisit the Beit Ham, they told me they don't have a room for me, which was
Okay,
absurd. So I
Davida,
said, I
I
said, forget it. I'm not gonna just argue with you. But I still have what is that, affection in the Beit Ham. To make long story short, I'm in the transition going to the Hebrew University Law School.
I think I apologize for stopping you. I think that we need to speak one-to-one tomorrow with one of our team members, because I want the questions to be general questions. I'm sure it's
Okay, I see. So tomorrow,
okay.
can I call and
Star
ask a
three six
particular?
eight star three
The
six eight zero.
information is on the screen. I'm putting it in again. Sippy, you can move ahead with the,
Okay.
This is,
Okay.
I'm sorry, it froze very quickly. If we get told that there's one Ulpan and that does not work for our hours, what are our options?
We're going to get to that right now. Okay. I'm moving on. Okay.
Mitsuya Tota.
Bivakasha. Share my screen, and here we go. Okay. Oh, I had another one about public Ulpan. Okay. Why is it important to complete public Ulpan? If you want to take a second Ulpan, you need to have successfully completed your first Ulpan. Okay. Successful completion means attending 80% of the classes. It's important to remember, and taking the final exam and passing. They don't care what your grade is. Once you get the certificate of completion, you can both apply for second Ulpan, and also if you are still under retirement age, you have certain employment benefits that the Misora Klita offers. I should have done this slide before opening for questions, but now we are going to private Ulpan, okay? So If you recall at the beginning, we said there's two types of Ulpan, two basic types of Ulpan. One is public, one is private. Private sounds like it is. It's run, they are private Ulpan are classes that are run by private companies, not just any company. They need to be approved and the curriculum approved by the Misrata Klita and the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Aliyah and Absorption. And it needs to, both it needs to fit certain requirements, both curriculum requirements as well as logistical requirements and how many people in a class and how many hours and so on. So it's not just, Mr. Joe Schwartz can open up a private Ulpan and say, oh, hey, Olim, come, but it has to go through a whole process. The private Ulpan, now this has changed over the years, okay? So if somebody here on the screen made Aliyah 3 years ago, it was different then. This is the way it is now, and it includes for you too. Okay, this is as it exists this year. You will not be approved for private Ulpan unless you first took a public Ulpan. There are exceptions, okay, but the main rule of thumb is only the private Ulpan is only approved as a second Ulpan, and approved means getting paid back for it. Okay. The exceptions to that are the biggest one is if you've been here for more than 2 years, then you haven't taken a public Ulpan, the Misar Klita is not going to be stickler anymore. The reason they have this rule is because, and I understand really actually completely, is because the public Ulpan is so much more intensive and offers you so much more. They want to encourage you to take that. However, if you've been here for 2 years or more and didn't do the public Ulpan, you will automatically be approved for private Ulpan if you ask for the voucher. The other exceptions to the rules are one, lack of availability in your area. For example, Zichron Yaakov, they're going to tell you go to public Ulpan in Hadera. If you can do that, that's great. Public Ulpan is really, it's an intensive, great Ulpan. But if you don't have a car, you can't get there and you can't spend the half hour or an hour bus ride each way, that would be called lack of availability in your area. And theoretically, the Misara Klita should approve you for the private Ulpan as your first Ulpan. If this another exception to the rule is if you can't attend a full-time Ulpan 5 hours a day, 5 days a week, because you have a job already, or because you're studying in university or in some type of academic course, okay, or taking some type of vocational course, then you would also get approval for private Ulpan. Just so you understand, the private Ulpan is less hours per week, and it's usually by Zoom, okay? That's why it's more conducive to somebody who is studying or has a job or so on and so forth. Other reasons they would approve it is health issues, whether it's mobility, you have a hard time moving because of health issues, or other reasons that you can't travel or can't go in person to an Ulpan class. And lastly, are parents of children aged 0 to 3. So if you want to take a private Ulpan and did not take the public Ulpan, but you have a reason that you want to take the private Ulpan and it's listed in this list, you would be in touch with your Misrata Klita contact and explain, I would like a voucher for private Ulpan. I cannot take public Ulpan because A, B, C. If you are not approved for that Ulpan, even though you kind of fit into this group of exceptions, please do send an email, attention SIPI, I want to take this on myself, and we would check into why they did not approve you for the private Ulpan, okay? But that is in the actual directive about the private Ulpan. It's stated very clearly that these are the reasons why someone would be approved as a first Ulpan to the private Ulpan. That link there is taking you to the page in the gov.il account, gov.il site, also explaining private Ulpan stuff. We have more information. Private Ulpan, as I said, is only from a list of approved providers. Some of the providers work only in one city and some are countrywide, okay? Some provide in person and some provide only remote Zoom and some provide both this and that. You need to do your own legwork / homework and look at the list of providers and contact those. Do your homework, ask other Olim what they, what their suggest, what they're recommending. That was the word I couldn't find. What they're recommending, how do they teach, and so on, and then ask for that voucher only after you've done your homework to see what company you'd like to go with. Okay. Um, there are very strict rules about the size of the classes, 12 students maximum, and it must be a minimum 200 academic hours. The exceptions to that are the much higher level classes, and I didn't even put this on the slide. Somebody said they're already in level Dalet or something. You would also theoretically be approved for private Ulpan immediately because there's no Ulpan, public Ulpan level in your area unless there is, okay? And then you would look for the company that offers your level. And then I do believe for the higher levels, it's less hours and less people in the class. I'm not sure what the thinking is, but that's what it is, okay? Um, one of the big differences about private Ulpan is you must pay up front and you will get paid back. When you are successfully registered and began the class, you will get half of the money back. Class, the maximum amount of money you will receive is 5,000 shekel. Surprisingly or not surprisingly enough, the companies all managed to price their courses at 5,000 shekel. If it costs less, then you won't be able to make money on that. They'll only pay you back the amount of the course. But that's usually the amount, that's usually the price. And you get the second half of the money if you have successfully completed Ulpan. What does that mean, successfully completing? We're going back to the 80% rule. You must attend 80% of those classes, and you must take the final exam. By the way, for seniors among us, me too, if you're past senior age in Israel, which is, going from 62 to 65 for women, 67 for men, you're not obligated to take that final exam because for whatever reasons. One of the things people are sometimes get frustrated about is only who are traveling back and forth between the states, and they're like, well, how am I going to get the 80% done? And then they're, oh, it's by Zoom. Great. I can join when I'm overseas. Well, you can join when you're overseas, but that's not going to count in your 80%. You will not get paid back that second half of money if you didn't attend the 80% from within Israel. And they know because they can see they have record of who left the country and who doesn't. It's just the same with when your Sal Klita money gets put on hold and so on. They have record of that. So one of the really important thing is do not pay tuition without first receiving approval. If you do, you're not going to get approved. For whatever reason, Sal Klita has strict on that. Not for whatever reason, they have their reasons. And you should ask for the voucher, but you should not pay the company until you actually get that approval, okay? So how do you register? The easiest way is via the online portal, and hopefully by the way, the Misrad Klita online personal login site is in many languages, including English, so it shouldn't be daunting like some of the other government websites and online accounts maybe, okay? Again, this directive is currently good through December 31st, 2026. I need to say that because they do change sometimes their directives, and for sure, Proof and Cherna already said she was here for 3 years. I think it was Cherna. Maybe it was somebody else. No, I just have your name in my mind. Anyway, somebody who made Aliyah 3 years ago might be saying to themselves, "Well, that's not what I was told when I made Aliyah." That is correct. Things change. It's a dynamic country. It's dynamic. Everything about it is dynamic, including these things may change. So what I'm presenting to you now is correct through the end of this year. Might not change next year, but it might. Here's a link to a list of the various providers, and I already repeated myself, which we don't need to do. Some Aviva, I'm hearing somebody, if you can see who that is and see how you can meet them.
I'm sorry, it was me. I'm the guilty party. It was
No.
my all clear alert. Sorry.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't get any type of alert. I'm in Jerusalem. Additional Hebrew learning resources. I have to give a shout out. If you don't know what Cafe Olé is, you should. Cafe Olé, there's a guy by the name of Jay Rosen. He's been giving this for quite a number of years. It is for free. He's
wonderful.
I agree. Yeah, Sherry,
yes,
I agree. He is wonderful. He's a great guy. Twice a week via Zoom. On Mondays is the actual, it's a frontal class. It's not interactive. He chooses a topic, he talks about it, he teaches you, teaches you about Israel culture as well. He's just a, it's amazing how he can make the classes interesting, and he does. And on Wednesdays, it's a smaller conversation-based class. I've never attended those, so I'm not sure what they're like, but you have both options. You should obviously the Wednesdays is based on what you've studied on Monday. You need to register for both of them ahead of time. And the link, you'll get it in the follow-up email. It is here as well. You can also Google Café au lait NBN and you'll get to it. We also have a huge playlist of past sessions that he's taught. So for those of you who are staying in the house a lot because of the war or for whatever other reasons, you should join them. It's just join the new ones or look at the old ones. It is a great way to learn Hebrew, and it's free. We also have an article, Hebrew Learning for Kids, on our website. I know, a little secret, it's not just for kids. Sometimes it's some of those ideas might be helpful for you. And ask for local municipality options. That's another thing, meaning I know in various cities, Tveria has in one of the Matnasim and one of the community centers once a week, just as an example. So is that enough to become fluent? No, but is that another way for you to practice? For sure. I want to go over one last thing, and then we're actually done, and if we have more questions. So people who made Aliyah now, I mean, it's hard in so many ways, especially now with the war and making Aliyah itself. Every year more and more paperwork is added on by the government, by the Jewish agency, and so on. It's not a simple process. But one thing has become much easier, and that is there are many tools that you can use in everyday life to make the Hebrew challenge a little bit easier, okay? And if you are not familiar with these tools, you really should have somebody teach them to you. This tonight, I can't teach it to you. That's not the format and not the forum, but I'm mentioning them, okay? Everybody's heard of Google Translate, and sometimes people love to bash it, but truly, Google Translate gets better year by year. You can have as an extension on your computer. You can have it on your phone. It does get better. Sometimes there's some funny translations, but it's really a helpful tool, okay? There's also what's called Google Lens Translate. That is just let me put my phone on a sign on the wall or on the package at the grocery store. I have no idea what it is. The Google Lens, it's like as if you're taking a picture, but you don't need to take a picture, and it translates it. Is it perfect? No. Is it helpful? For sure. Okay. There's also Google Translate by speech. Okay, you can have a conversation with somebody. You say what you want in English, and then they translate to Hebrew, and you press the little microphone, and it will say it. Okay. Is it a little awkward? Yes. Is it super helpful? Again, yes. This link, which you'll get, is taking you to the help page of Google, which will explain it. And I just actually took a screenshot of my phone screen because I just wanted to show you, okay, that these are my little icons here, my widgets, as we call them. This is my microphone. It means I can press on it and I can say something and it will say it to me in another language. This is the one that looks like a camera, is my Google Lens. I take a picture. As if I'm taking a picture, and it's going to translate it for me. This is words, and I don't remember what the other one is. Oh, conversation. It's super simple, okay? I know for some people participating tonight, they're thinking like, well, what's, Zippy, of course we know about this. And for some people, it's like, whoa. And for some people, their stress level is already getting higher because everything in this world nowadays is through phone and through computers, and that might stress some of you out. But these are truly life-changing, and you should learn how to use them. It makes life much, much, much easier in Hebrew. Okay, there's another screenshot just so you can see. This is how to contact us. We've said it a number of times, and I'll say it again. Don't forget we're closed throughout Pesach. God forbid there's an emergency. God forbid. I don't even want to say it, but somebody's home gets hurt by a missile saying, let us know, let us know, let us know. God forbid we are available over Pesach. I am going to stop sharing so I can now see your wonderful faces.
Of course, Tippy, before calling us, call first responders if necessary.
Oh, no, okay, thank you, Aviva. She's my, my practical, of course. That's Yes, and yes. Um, okay, before we go to the hands being raised, Aviva, are there any questions in the chat that should be addressed either because you didn't get to them or it's we want everybody to hear the answers?
I think answering questions about attending Ulpan in the Army, if you start off on a higher level, if you can get the employment benefits if you start off higher than Aleph, and the answer is yes. If you test out of Aleph, higher than Aleph, then you don't need to retake Aleph just to be eligible for certain benefits.
Okay.
That's a lot of the questions.
Okay.
And there's some comments about different translating apps. So yeah.
Okay. Is there any talk about extending the Ulpan rights because of the war? Not yet. I mean, you know, when there's to take Ulpan, they're not gonna. I doubt that the Ulpan benefit's going to be extended. Because you have 10 years. I don't doubt that if you're close to the 2 year mark or whatever, that if you need some special something, then you should, again, Misara Klita is very amenable to appeals, not saying they prove everything, but you can appeal them. And as far as other benefits, which wasn't what was being asked, because said anyway, we do not know of any benefits that are going to be extended because of the war. Stay tuned. Okay, Francis, hi. What was your question? You're muted.
Okay, here I go. Okay, I took Kita Aleph at a private Ulpan, started Kita Bet, and I'm a senior. It was too fast for me. It was too much. I couldn't do it. What do you suggest for seniors who want to learn Hebrew but at a slower pace?
So first of all, well, what city do you live in?
Pardon?
What city do you live in?
Netanya.
Okay. So did you check if there is actual senior Ulpan going on? Because they sometimes do open senior Ulpan, number one. Number two, specifically Netanya, I would check with AACI if they have anything going on. AACI is pretty strong there. And number three, you said you started with a private Ulpan. You got reimbursed for that private Ulpan?
No, I paid.
Okay, so you might be able to get a voucher to take a second private Ulpan. It would be considered your first one, because if they didn't pay for it, then if they being the Misara Klita, then as far as they're concerned, you didn't take it. I mean, so maybe you would want to look for another private Ulpan that would fit your level and your style.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I like your name, Francis, and Aviva can laugh because she knows why, because my name's Sippy. I've been living in Israel forever, and my name Sippy is the way everybody knows me, but the name on my Teudat Zehut is Francis.
You know what? I was never called Francis before I moved to Israel.
What were you, Franny or Fran, or neither?
Fran.
Okay, so
and now I'm Francis because it's on my.
Okay, so does anybody call you if anybody who knows enough Hebrew to write out the word Francis in Hebrew, then and say you never heard of that name? I have people call me like from the bank and they say, "Can I speak with Princess?" I'm like, "I'm happy to be Princess." Anyway, okay. Other questions?
Sippy, can you address again, because there's a few questions about if somebody is in a higher level.
Yes.
Then...
Okay, so again, depends where you live and how much of a higher level you are. What needs to happen is the Misara Klita you might need to test out or to take the actual placement test. So they'll see your level and then they'll either say, okay, we have a public Ulpan, your level, Kita, whatever, it's starting on such and such date. So, I'm hesitating because different offices work differently. Sometimes it's take the actual exam And by the way, that costs a little bit of money. I don't know, 60 shekel, 80 shekel. First time I heard somebody had to pay, I thought that was very strange, but yes, you do have to pay. Some places will just have you talk in Hebrew with the Misrata Klita representative contact. So it's kind of it's not a one size it fits all thing. It depends on where you go. But what you need them to do is to understand that you are at a higher level, find out if there is a public Ulpan in your area at that level, and if not, get approval for the private Ulpan. Private Ulpan, one of the pluses about private Ulpan, and I didn't really explain it, is that they're done mostly by Zoom, and then you can have people from all over the country. And so you can have a lot more classes opening at different levels because you're not waiting for another 20 people at my level in Netanya. You're taking people from all over the country at my level. That's one of the pluses about the private Ulpan. So I think that if somebody has already higher level Hebrew, they need to be either tested or somehow otherwise the Misora Klita otherwise made a prove of the fact that you are that level Hebrew, and then ask for the private Ulpan voucher. I also want to say again, if somebody is listening to me and that's what they've tried to do, and the Misora Klita says, no, you still have to take a public Ulpan, please send an email to answers@mbn, attention SIPI, with a little bit of this. I'm not going to get it to until after Pesach, but I want to be your advocate to figure out why. I mean, why are they saying no? There might be a reason that neither one of us are aware of, or it might be a misunderstanding or something, but I'm happy to help on a one-to-one basis if somebody is in that situation, okay?
Sippy, I just answered a bunch of questions one after the other, so I think it might not be clear about how to find out about open classes in your area.
Okay, so again, you have a couple of ways. One, or the most obvious way, or obvious to me, is be in touch with the Misada Klita rep, okay, the contact. And she or he should be able to tell you when Ulpan is starting in your city. You know what? Step back. Certain cities actually have the information on the city website, such as Jerusalem. Jerusalem, just FYI, has a great municipality website in English. Just Google Jerusalem Municipality Ulpan. You'll see the list of all the various Ulpan classes that happen, not when they're starting, but where they are, who to be in touch with. Okay. So Jerusalem, it's easy as far as that goes. Some other places too, you can try that way. Haifa also has a listing that way. You can ask the Misara Klita representative. You can contact what's called the Municipality Klita Coordinator. That was that link that I said would put in the email and that Aviva put up.
It's been in there a bunch of times. So
okay,
I keep responding to.
Okay, so it'll be in the follow-up email, okay? That you would also reach out to that person, okay? And say what Ulpan is happening. You can try the reason I'm giving a few different ways is because it's, better try one, doesn't work, try the other, doesn't work, let us know. We also have an Ulpan database, which will be in the follow-up email, which also will mention the different Ulpan classes in the different cities. As far as when the dates that they're opening, that is really the Misara Klita or the Ulpan director itself. If you have the phone number and the name of the Ulpan director, that's sometimes the best way to go. Okay?
What's the
Robin? Sorry. Was that a follow-up about what I just said? No. Okay. So Robin, did you want to ask something?
Hey, first of all,
You're not
thank you.
Robin?
It's Joe. Robin and Joe.
Okay, hi, Joe.
Robin could be both a man and woman's name.
But we've been having difficulty getting into an Ulpan in Ashkelon. So I was looking on your website and you have this Hebrew Connect programs that maybe until we get Ulpan started, we were thinking maybe we do something like that as a bridge. So can you talk a little bit about that?
I can, sure. I did not mention that. Hebrew Connect is a good Ulpan, a little bit discounted because MBN sponsors it a little bit. It was originally set up actually for people before the idea was when it first came up for people before their aliyah to already have some Hebrew, learning and to move forward in that before they make aliyah. But in fact, I don't know numbers, but in fact, there is a significant percentage of Olim after their aliyah who attend Ulpan Connect. if you're the thing about Ulpan Connect, the Hebrew Connect, excuse me, is that you need to pay out of pocket. Okay, if that's not an issue, then go for it. You if you're already paying out of pocket, I don't know the prices. I can't compare. I do know I'm almost 100% sure that Hebrew Connect is in conjunction with oh my God, Ulpan La Inyan, which is a great, from what I know, a great private Ulpan. They offer classes also that are, but you'd want to look at that and see. It would be a good bridge. It pains me, quite honestly, that you have the benefit as an Ole of a free Ulpan, but you're going to have to pay out of pocket. On the other hand, I do not know how often Ulpan classes in Ashkelon open. I don't know how many Olim are coming there. It's not
We
Jerusalem.
made Aliyah. We made Aliyah the end of January.
Yeah.
We went to the beginning of February. They said, come back at the beginning of March. We come back at the beginning of March. They lost our paperwork. Come back after Purim. Purim, war. And now it's like
Yeah, I know.
Pesach, but then, after
Yeah, no.
Pesach.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
So what I can suggest, guys, is, first of all, if you can, I mean, if you want to do Hebrew Connect, and if you can do it, I don't know if you have to um obligate yourself for a full 6 months. I don't know what it is. If it's a one fee, or you can do a month, but I don't know. But and I know I'm going to say after Pesach, but I am going to say, why don't you contact us after Pesach and let us be in touch with the Ashkelon um Misara Klita to ask them what's happening. Are you familiar with the Ashkelon? This is a personal question. This is a very specific question, but I'm going to remind everybody, also be in touch with the municipality coordinator. Ashkelon has one. I don't believe she or
Yeah,
he is
we've
a
been
native.
we've been in touch with Bettina a lot. So
Okay, so ask, what's the name?
Bettina.
Okay, right. Okay. So ask Bettino if he knows of
She.
anything.
She.
Okay,
She.
good.
She.
Good.
Bettina, like
Okay.
a little Betty.
Bettina.
I was gonna say that's Spanish, right? Ask Bettino if she knows about something happening. Okay, but Hebrew Connect is a good product for sure, and it is partially subsidized by MBN. That being said, it's still out of pocket completely. You're not gonna get paid back for that. Okay. Thank you.
You
And I
said
hope
Hebrew Connect is connected to Ulpan Le'inyan, and you said it's not covered. Does that mean Ulpan Le'inyan is also not covered? Or
no, that does not mean so Upanya Inyan offers many various types of classes. And for any of these private Ulpans, you can take them, you can pay out of pocket, actually, for any of them. They'll be happy to take your money. If you want it to be covered by the voucher, you need to tell them specifically that you are looking to take an Ulpan voucher, Misara Klita voucher class. Okay. Many of these places offer both. Many of them have classes for tourists as well. One of the things, by the way, that in this recent Gilgul, in this recent iteration of the Ulpan benefits, is that in the private Ulpan classes, I believe like 80% has to be Olim. They can't mix too many tourists in the class for all sorts of reasons. Okay. So no, that doesn't mean they don't have. You need to be specific when you're speaking with the Ulpan. By the way, many of the private Ulpan classes, some of the private Ulpan carriers have on their website, like you can test yourself. So if you're curious what level you are, I know Ulpan La Inyan does. I don't know what other ones do, but I'm sure there are. But if you're wondering what your level is, and again, it depends who is giving it to you, but go on the Ulpan La Inyan site and test yourself. You're not obligated for anything, and you'll get some type of feel. At least it's not necessarily what the Misara Klita uses for the actual level, but it gives you some feel. Do we
are
have more questions?
are university Ulpans open to non-university students, and are they public Ulpans?
No, University Ulpanim are not covered by it. If you are a student, then you can do it through your university. We just actually had this come up recently, and a person thought she would be able to do it, and she was not reimbursed. Tippy, somebody did ask if they do the private Ulpan instead of the public Ulpan, can they take a second private Ulpan?
You can pay for it out of pocket, but no, they won't pay for two private Ulpan classes. No. Unlike the public Ulpan, where you might be able to appeal I want to take a second one. I need to learn more. I want to take the next level. And they would maybe probably approve it, but private Ulpan, they will not approve more than one. No.
What's the highest level public Ulpan that's offered?
I believe in some places you have what they call Kita Dalid, but again, it gets to be a little confusing because in Kita Aleph you can go through level Aleph, Bet, and part of Gimel. So that way, there are a couple places that offer Dalid, but Dalid can sometimes be only twice a week for a couple of, not but, and it can be twice a week for a couple of hours. I know in Carmiel a number of years ago, they were offering Dalid Olim who came in the past 10 years were joining. That's what I mean about it's a public Ulpan. So people took one class, two classes, they were approved for the third one as well. And they were very happy to be able to offer that to Olim who had a higher level Hebrew. But you need to check in your own city. And what happened last year is not necessarily what's happening this year, and so on and so forth. Beit Ha'am, for example, in Jerusalem offers all sorts of levels at all sorts of different times, and best to talk to the Ulpan director there, actually.
And Tippy, I have heard of people who they did not have a level for them. So they took, let's say they needed Dalit and they only had up to Gimel. They had them do the Gimel class and attend the Gimel class and test the Dalit. I don't know exactly how that worked, but somebody told me that they did that.
I would also say somebody wrote about it too, Ulpan Morashah. I apologize that I could have done more homework to find more about that. But if you Google Ulpan Morashah, and you might want to be in touch with them to see what they are offering, okay? Because I know they offer also out-of-the-box solutions. Okay. We've been going on for an hour and 13 minutes. So actually, I think there were no sirens. There was a warning, but I don't think there was a siren, I hope, which is great. And I wish everybody, first of all, thank you very much, Aviva, for your help. Thank you, all of you, for joining. You're welcome to turn to us with more questions. You will get an email with a link to the recording. Anybody who registered gets that and some follow-up information, but patience, please, because we have to have this put up to YouTube until we can send it out. Really wishing everybody a Chag Kasher Sameach. I didn't say that. Wishing everybody a quiet night and many quiet nights to come, and for all Am Yisrael, for our soldiers, for all of our wonderful people, all of our amazing Olim. Really, thank you so much, and hope that we meet in wonderful situations. Speaking Hebrew, Laila Tov lekulam.
Night, everybody. Be safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.